Hello, I'm Gavin.
I'm Dan.
We're the Slow Mo Guys, and today we're doing slow mo support.
Ryan, Texas Red 141, asks, what's your favourite video that you recorded for Slow Mo Guys?
I certainly like the ones where you do something ridiculous, like erupting from a 6-foot balloon of water, or jumping into 1,000 mousetrap.
There's one where we did like a competition. We basically tried to get into these giant balloons and do like a competition to have the best pose. Honestly, that's one of the funniest videos I think we've done.
Dan got into the balloon and all the air leaked out.
So essentially, I was just trapped in a balloon, just completely trapped. He could have just left me and I wouldn't have been able to get out.
It's one of the few times I literally rolled on the floor laughing.
I was there, almost suffocating. Like I just had this little hole to breathe through. I was like, "Give me more air!"
Yeah, you were yelling at me because I wasn't putting the leaf blower in for more air, but I was just too busy laughing.
Yeah, he was just on the floor, not helping.
And that bit, nothing to do with the slow-mo. That was just us getting ready.
I mean, the slow-mo was alright, but
the slow-mo was...
Yeah. I think for the Super Slow Show, my favourite was probably the det cord, because I always wanted to film that in slow-mo. Always wanted to. But it's
massive shockwaves.
Not easy to get hold of detonating cord.
I would say outside of the Super Slow Show, I like the one where we put powder paint on all the airbags.
It was really
I think
cool.
in the video I said it was as if the Muppets called in an airstrike.
Yes.
It was that colourful.
Yeah.
Radit asks, what are the best slow motion scenes of all time? I like the entirety of Inception.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the movie that you filmed.
Also,
yeah, that was the best.
Sherlock Holmes
best
2, because I worked on it.
Yeah.
I should have said that.
I thought you would have said that. I was like, no, ignore him. There was some cool ones in Dread. I like that the drug that was in it, the sort of whole point of it was around slow motion, so there was some awesome scenes there.
I worked on that one too.
Did you really? Yeah. No, you didn't. Did you really? I actually hated Dread. It was terrible. No, damn it. Can we cut that one out? Cheers. Yeah. Elizabeth Zana asks, why is everyone so obsessed with filming things in slow motion lately? Or starting in regular speed, then slow motion, then regular? That's cool. Annoying.
Hashtag annoying. Because it looks wicked.
What's wrong with you, Elizabeth?
Everything looks cooler in slow-mo.
Yeah.
Except the snails.
I'm offended by that.
And paint drying. Hashtag annoying.
I think we're done with that question.
Tony Churnside asks, what about sound? Do you always just use the sound slowed down, or do you mix/sound design? I would say the sound design is by far the most time-consuming part of making these videos. What I'll do is I'll sometimes slow the sound down as much as I can. Say if there was something landing on the ground and you need that sound, I'll just retime that so that fits, and then I'll just add in other sound effects, and I put in that sort of background hum to hide empty spaces where there's no sound.
I remember one time, a very early video, we had a lighter on a barbecue in your garden in England. And we sort of just set it on fire and it blew up and the lighter span hundreds of times. And I remember you telling me that all you did was go...
I think I went... and I slowed it down, it was like... Whoa. So sometimes it's just my mouth.
So it's like completely made up, essentially. So, but the thing is now, unless people watch this, they will think that that's the noise that things make. They don't know. It's actually your mouth.
Tails, at Hey I'm Tails, asks, where do you guys get the tons of food for the Super Slow Show? Is it donated or old food? Asking for a friend, the friend is me.
I like Tails.
We just used to go over to the craft services table and all the stuff that was about to be chucked away, we just take it. And sometimes none of the crew had any food left to eat.
Like they come to lunchtime and there'd be no watermelons.
Yeah. But a lot of the time we tried to catch the food after it had exploded or something.
I've often eaten food post-explosion as well.
I would say you've eaten more exploded food than most humans.
I actually think that might be true. I think I must have eaten more blown up food than anyone else. So refreshing. Clueless Will, asks, what is the worst experience filming for a video? Well, I think that's a me question, because Gavin, all he does is sort of stand behind the camera and watch me do the bad stuff.
According to Dan, all I do is press the button.
He just does this, and then that. And then I have to like do all the work. But I'd say, I've done so many things like jumping into 1,000 mousetraps on a trampoline. On the Super Slow Show, I tried to impress Tony Hawk, and I broke my wrist. And I did a belly flop from about 12 foot high up. So I've been burnt, I've had my ears torn. Quite a lot of painful things have happened to me, or unpleasant, like puking milk up.
I stubbed my toe once. As bad as all that stuff is, it's great content. I would say the worst experience is when we go through this massive long setup, or you go through something like that, and the footage doesn't look any good. Because then we get crabby.
Sandeep Suresh says, what's your process like when you're trying to create a new idea for a video?
Because we live in separate countries, we only shoot like 3 times a year. So when we're not shooting, we're slowly building this list. Maybe it's stuff the viewers have sent to us, maybe it's something we've seen on Reddit, or I'll just be in the shower and I have an idea or something. And then when we finally get together, we'll have this massive list and we'll then decide which ones we want to do in that filming session. And then we'll go shopping for props.
Yeah, I'll go and buy some water balloons, paint, and
melons and drills.
Yeah.
One of the big selling points for us with the Super Slow Show was that we were able to do stuff we've never been able to do before. And we were also able to revisit stuff and scale it up massively. The episode was actually called Double It, where we were doubling up on our previous experiments. And one of my favorite ones was the paint drill.
I mean, we first used a normal drill.
And then I thought, well, what we're actually after is just spinning paint. We don't necessarily need to store paint on a drill bit, because you can't really hold that much. So I came up with the idea to have a PVC pipe separated into 4 different chambers with slits cut into it. And we would just fill it with paint and then use a drill to power that to spin. And it looked insane.
And there's some things that we just physically couldn't fit in the garden. There's a video with Andy Bell coming up where he rides a motorbike across a pool. First of all, we don't have a pool or a bike.
Oh, and we don't have any skills.
So that's kind of impossible, but we would love to have seen it, and we did, so it was really sweet.
Another thing I wanted to do with the Super Slow Show was different camera techniques, stuff that we've never been able to do before, and that involved mounting the camera on moving objects like Andy Bell's head, or spinning it on a spinning rig looking inwards to create a sort of bullet time effect.
There's a special robotic arm that we've had the chance to use before, where it essentially holds the camera and swings around really quickly. But we had an entirely rig that was just huge, and we could put much bigger subjects, like a bear trap with a soda bottle in the middle of it.
Because a lot of the time when you've got 1 camera or 2 cameras, you're locked into those angles, and there might be interesting stuff happening on the back or the other side. Honestly, I wish we could have spun it faster, but it got to the point where, because the camera's so heavy, if we cranked it up all the way, the arm bent and all the cables snapped. And,
yeah,
we were on the brink. We were pushing that thing right to the limit.
We were. Bald Guy says, or Andy Williams, is this the best slow motion explosion ever? He asks. Oh. First of all,
one of my favourite videos.
It is brilliant because we had these bangers in the UK and they're way more powerful than the bangers you get here.
It's like an M80 times 10.
Yeah, but we put it in a watermelon and it was just sort of expecting it to sort of go purr. And it exploded perfectly, so that it looked like a planet that was just perfectly just being annihilated.
We rarely test stuff not on camera. And at that point, we might as well just go for it anyway. We might as well just film it and present it as an episode. Yeah. We should have tested that. Because any less, and it would have just split the melon. Any more powerful, it would have misted the melon. But it perfectly fragmented it. Unfortunately, a lot of it went into your face. Ugh. Kristen Goppel asks, weekends at our house sometimes involve building small-scale models and filming their destruction in slow motion. Future engineers or filmmakers or both. I used to love doing stuff like that.
I like that people spend their weekend doing this. It's good.
That's such a cool project. I wish I had that kind of technology when I was a kid. Mark Hillary asks, filming an electrical storm with my iPhone in slow motion mode and I can see lightning in front of me and where I'm pointing the phone on a tripod, yet the recording has nothing. Is it too fast for the phone to record something about that? Lightning is very, very fast. The speed of light, it's the fastest thing, isn't it? But yeah, you can absolutely miss a lightning strike, or because of rolling shutter, you might get sort of 1/2 of the image very bright and blown out, and the other half, it hasn't happened yet, sort of thing. You can record it with much higher frame rates, though, maybe towards 50,000. The actual strike comes up from the Earth, so from the cloud, you get a bunch of tiny, thin lightning
tendrils.
Yeah. The first one that hits the ground then sends the big lightning strike back up. So it's insane to watch in slow-mo.
I mean, one day maybe they'll have phones that do 50,000 frames a second. But
yeah.
That's
maybe when we're old men.
In the future, yeah. CLH, or Chris LH 1987. I was born the year after that.
Fun fact.
Gavin Free, can slow motion video be live streamed in a situation where the camera will knowingly be destroyed by whatever it's filming?
All the cameras we use record internally to RAM. So if we used any of our cameras, you're probably going to hit your footage and destroy it all.
Plus the cameras are expensive, you don't really want to trash them.
One of the Phantom V-series cameras, there's like a central head and then cameras come out of it. Just the heads of the cameras come out of it. You can ruin the camera part and keep the data. I mean, you can live stream the feed from the camera, but you would then have to switch it to play back the slow-mo. It can't live stream every frame. Daz Dillinger asks, why do lights flicker when video is in slow motion? That's due to the frequency of electricity. So in the US, it's 60 hertz. So normal lights, like the ones in here, are actually turning on and off 60 times every second, which you can't see with your eye because the interval when they're off is so brief. But when you're filming at thousands of frames a second, they'll be pulsing. Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the biggest issues when shooting slow-mo indoors, is that you need big lights. You're talking like 5,000 watts probably, because at that size, when the lights are turning off, they're so big and the filament is so big that there's not actually enough time for them to cool enough to dim. So you just need big, fat, really hot lights.
Looking very cool, Ken Gibson, with your beard and your cigarette out the mouth. Looking badass. I'm sure you have tons of ideas for Slow Mo Guys, but have you ever considered doing a somewhat gross out series with things like a popping pimple? We did me bulking up some milk.
Well, yeah, we've done vomit. That was gross.
We tried filming a pimple, but it didn't really explode. It just sort of like didn't really do anything.
I have a pretty sensitive gag reflex too.
Yeah.
And you don't want, you know, when you're filming, be like...
That's all you do.
That's all I do. Andy U. Ferguson asks, you ever thought of filming a grenade going off underwater in slow motion, or shooting ballistics gel with different things? A grenade?
We did that.
Wait, do I have any grenades? I don't have one.
You don't? I'm fresh out, unfortunately.
It's very hard to get a hold of a frag grenade, like a military grenade.
Yeah, it's also unnecessary. All it is you just need an explosion underwater, which we have filmed with bangers on a much smaller scale. Although, because it's slow motion, it kind of looks bigger than it actually is.
We've never done ballistics gel. We try not to do too much stuff with live ammo, just because it's scary.
He's scared. TDTV asks, what kind of lenses do you guys use?
The lenses that we use depend on the camera. The different cameras we use have different mounts. So whenever we borrow the V2511, that has a Canon mount. So I whip out all my Canon lenses. I try and use primes because they're a lot faster lenses. They can go more wide open, and I sometimes need the light. For our Phantom Flex 4K, we use PL lenses, which are unfortunately much more expensive and much bigger. And we use primes again, just because you can open them up more. Yeah, we've also used macro lenses. I use that to film the pixels in my TV. And the hair follicles in Dan's leg.
Oh, my legs have recovered actually nicely. I've got lots of hair back.
That was painful, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he kept messing it up, so we kept having to do it all the time.
Well, the thing is, on a macro lens, your depth is nothing. So I'd be framing up on some hair follicles, and I'd whip the thing off, but it would pull up the skin.
Skin moves.
Pull the skin towards the camera, which would pull it completely out of focus.
So he was like, can you just do it again? Except not so, like, much.
Yeah, humans are a bit too fleshy to use macro lenses on.
Pretty gross.
Pennywise Loca asks, if money was no object, what's the one video you would want to make?
Something in space?
Maybe an Aston Martin doing a corkscrew into a helicopter or something.
Well, that's just
something
like unnecessarily wasteful.
Money's no object.
Could just be any other car into anything else.
Yeah. If we had the money to buy a new planet and set off like a huge nuke.
Okay, right, okay.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to come up with money no object things.
Fine. They didn't say impossible. They said money no object. Is there a place where you can buy a new planet and blow it up?
Elon Musk will sort it out.
Brilliant.
He'll get it done. Oliver_Crush asks, what is the best way to make good slow motion videos with a low budget?
Well, conversely, actually, I would say that our slow-mo videos have an incredibly low budget.
The most important thing with slow-mo is you need a lot of light. So go outside, probably. Well, that was fun.
That was awesome.
Thank you so much for your questions. We had a lovely time answering them. Be sure to check out the Super Slow Show. You can find it on YouTube, on our channel. Subscribe to the Slow Mo Guys, because that's where it is. Dan gets hurt.
Yeah.